It takes a lot of time to get a very little amount of work done. And if you want to go and set up an entity, you've got to get your PAN card, which is your income tax document. You've got to set up a business visa. You've got to go and set up the entity, which requires a whole bunch of documents. There's something called GST, which is VAT registration. So there's a lot of things that goes into you as a foreigner going and creating a business entity. So that's not an option that I'm actively recommending to folks because I think there's a easier option. So you're all here. I'm looking through the crowd. I don't see a ton of Indian faces. I see a couple here. So for you guys, it's easy, right? You can go in and build in India already. But for the majority of our group, what we need to do is think about the Indian diaspora. India's population is actually one of the biggest outside of India. When you look at this little pie chart I've got here, there's roughly about 20 million Indians, or those of Indian origin, who are living in new-skin open markets today already. So you've got 8.3 million in North America. That's a big amount just in the US and Canada. So when I was telling you earlier about how Indians and Indian origin people are the only ones who can build in India, well, this is your chance, your opportunity to be able to be part of that India launch. Is if you can go and find those Indian origin folks in new skin open markets today, sign them up, get them acclimatized to the new skin way, the new skin business, then they essentially become new skin leaders today in open markets. Now, why is that important? Because that's essentially how you, as leaders, get to participate in India and the launch. And it's through this thing called the Global Growth Pool. Now, for those of you who might have remembered, a couple of years ago when we had our Dubai Team Elite trip, that's when we kind of first seriously talked about India. There was a presentation about it. At that point, we didn't even know if we could pay international leaders. So we were like, well, there's all these restrictions with India. How do we actually make it happen? Well, the Global Growth Pool is how we make it happen. So let's talk about what the Global Growth Pool is. As a quick summary, the Global Growth Pool is essentially a way for you as an international leader to get paid for the work that you're doing in helping Nu Skin build and launch into India. What does that mean? So let's say today you are a UK account. I don't think there's any UK folks in this group, but let's say you're a US account, right? As long as you are a US account and you are going and finding someone who is India eligible, right? So someone who is of that group. Oh, this way? Oh, UK? All right, there you go. Perfect. So we can keep the UK example. So you've got a UK account. As long as you find someone who is India eligible in any Nu Skin open market, right? It doesn't have to be the UK. But if you find someone who's an NRI, OCI, PIO, sign them up today so that they can start doing the Nu Skin business in an open Nu Skin market. So in this example, this UK brand rep is signing up a UK India eligible person who has now their UK account. What happens is as long as that UK India account, that India eligible account from the UK, as long as they are a brand rep before November 1st, they will be allowed to create an India account when we open India for a qualified entry period in November. What does that mean and why do we do it? So there's two reasons. I'm going to give a little bit of context on India's launch plans. We're going to India in two phases. There's going to be a qualified entry period that is between November of this year and the middle of next year. And then there will be the official launch, which will be the middle of next year. Now, really the main difference between these two, because operationally, both of these phases are the same, really the main difference is the qualified entry limits who can go into India and build. What that means for you is that's first mover advantage, right? It's if you can get your folks into India by November already, you're going to have the advantage that those who wait until the full launch don't have. Additionally, there's actually another bonus in the qualified entry period. I'll get into that right after this, but there's additional earnings opportunities in that qualified entry period that will not be available in that full launch period. So that's why we want to make sure that the people who go into November understand what it is to build a Nu Skin business. That's why we're saying this UK India eligible person they need to be a brand rep at least. So they've gone through qualification, they know how to build a team, they know how to sell products and whatnot. Now when they do that in November, they're going to go and they're creating their India account. Now I want you to pay careful attention to this graphic because this is kind of the key part about India, is you see two yellow people, they're the same person. That's why they're connected, and it's not an arrow, but it's a connection. It's the same person with two different accounts. I mentioned earlier, India can be maddening. Part of the regulations is really that the India tree needs to start and stop in India. So what that means is this UK India eligible person now will have two separate and distinct accounts. They might be the same person, but they've got a UK account that they could run their global business to, but they've got a separate India account that essentially all of their India sales will go through. That's how they drive their team in India. And this is important because, like I mentioned earlier, from a regulations point of view, there isn't really a way to pay international leaders from India. But with this approach, essentially the argument we're making to regulators is to say, hey, this UK international person who is a Gold Plus brand rep, they're going to get paid this global growth pool because they went and found this person in their own market or in an existing open new skin market. And because they supported and mentored that person is able to go and build a global business, including India. So then essentially the payment that you would get from your global growth pool would be approximately the value of lead bonus if you're able to get a lead bonus from India. So that's kind of the big picture of this. Now one additional thing I wanted to add to this is this whole point of global growth pool. It's really important that you have that yellow person, but what's more important is you have at least one of them, and they need to be personally sponsored. Because again, the argument we're making to the regulators is you have personally supported and mentored this person, so you need to personally sponsor this India eligible person. And you need to have supported them in a way that they're generating enough sales in India. So that's where this concept of the India leadership team comes in, is it's not just someone who's going and who's being a brand affiliate in India. They need to build a decent, substantial team. Now what that team is and how much sales they build will be coming up very shortly in the next couple of weeks. But today, think of it today in terms of how you build your teams today, right? You've got 5K leadership teams, 10K leadership teams, 20K. So similar concept. In India, it'll be a little lower because with India, the product pricing is going to be a little lower, maintenance will be a little lower. So that's what global growth pool is all about, right? So might be complex to kind of think it through in all the different combinations here. The bottom line is as long as you can personally sponsor an India eligible person in any existing new skin market today, and that India eligible person becomes a brand rep by November, you will essentially have the opportunity for that person to go and start building in India. And as long as that person becomes a leadership team in India, you are going to get benefit from the global growth pool. So that's global growth pool. And I spent a little bit more time on that. We don't need to spend as much time on this portion because you remember I mentioned there's a difference between the qualified entry and the full launch, right? I mentioned it's restricted, so you get first mover advantage, but you also get an additional bonus. And this is something we haven't really done in a lot of new skin markets today, is have this kind of founders promotion add oil to the fire for a qualified entry period. What we're going to do is essentially double your lead bonus or your global growth pool in that qualified entry period. So all you need to do is become an India founder. This is foundationally how you get your global growth pool. So let's talk about because that OCI person is going to go and build in India. That OCI person themselves can also be an India founder because they're going and building a team in India. They're going and creating brand reps when the market launches. So for Terry, as long as Terry is getting a global growth pool payment in the qualified entry period, and she's a Ruby Plus in her home market, she's going to get double global growth pool for that qualified entry. So think about that, the potential of that, especially for that first 6 to 9 months. We're really excited about this. We think this is going to drive a lot of energy and momentum. And not just because it impacts Terry, it also impacts the India eligible person that she found, right? If she finds someone and they're going and they're creating their India-eligible team, and that India-eligible team is building a team in India. They're going to get double lead for the entirety of the qualified entry period. So that's anywhere from 6 to 9 months, right? That's anywhere from November till the middle of next year. So that's kind of what the big, exciting programs are when it comes to the Nu Skin India side of things. This is more on the international side, right? The main point is that you as international leaders, how do you get paid through the global growth pool? And then what's exciting about the qualified entry, as you and your India-eligible person can both benefit from either double global growth pool or double lead. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the India SPP itself, because India is going to be a little different. I think everything that I've mentioned so far, you'll notice there's a lot of differences, but we're trying to keep a lot of similarities. So from a training perspective, it's easy to scale, right? So with India, one of my roles before my current role at Nu Skin was actually heading up our customer experience team, which meant listening to a lot of your feedback, listening to a lot of your customers' feedback, and kind of figuring out how we can make the experience better. And without fail, the number one feedback about our compensation plan was always, it's so complicated to explain. And it is. So one of the things that we wanted to do with India is figure out how we could make it simple, but also how we could make it localized. For those of you who have Indian connections, I'm sure you'll understand that there's a lot of localization that needs to happen as they kind of think about India and what it takes to live and build a business in India. So when we're talking about simplification, this is kind of where the, I would say the complexity of India helps us, because with the restrictions that we have in India, with India kind of having to be its own thing, it allows us the flexibility to do a few things differently with the India comp plan. The number one different thing is actually, it's going to be a currency-based plan. What does that mean? There's no concept of PV. There's no concept of points. Everything is based in rupees. Really simple to explain, right? You sell this many rupees worth of product, you're going to get a benefit. You don't have to take the rupees, convert it to PV, figure out what the CV is, figure out the GD for maintenance. Really simple. And again, we can do that because India is self-contained. The other aspect of it is this concept of what we're calling a direct seller, which you can think of as almost a pre-brand affiliate. The reason is, today in all of our markets, both members and affiliates get the same price, right? It's the lowest price, but you both get the same price. We want an additional incentive to be a brand affiliate in India. So in India, only the brand affiliate gets the lowest possible price. A member will still pay a higher price than brand affiliate. Now, to make sure that we have the right folks going through to becoming that brand affiliate, right? We got folks who are truly intentful about doing the business. We have this precursor to the brand affiliate phase, which is called the direct seller. And a direct seller is essentially a brand affiliate who can sponsor and whatnot, but they're not getting that lowest possible price. They have to sell a certain amount of products to say, hey, I've gone in and sold 10,000 rupees worth of product, which is $120. So for us to say, hey, this person is serious about doing the business, we are now going to make them a brand affiliate, and they will always get the lowest possible price. This is a one-time cumulative sale that they need to do. It's, again, just to make sure that they have that intent of creating the business. And that's the reason for that. Now, the other part is simplification. Again, this helps us with the regulations we have in India. In the US today, we kind of have 4 to 5 bonuses, right? We've got retail, selling, sharing, selling/sharing, referring, building, leading. Yeah, so those are 5. In India, we'll just have 3. So we're simplifying that. Now, we're still paying the same % of commissions. We're just kind of combining those and the behaviors across 3. And the intent really is to say, can we build a plan that appeals to our target demographic in India? Nu Skin is and always will be a leadership-driven company. Our core needs to stay the core of who we are. But we'll also have in India a target demographic that's going to be younger, that's going to be more tech-savvy. They might not necessarily understand the nuances of breakaways and building a leadership team. So to get them through that process, what can we do in the front end that'll kind of keep them motivated to push through to the end? So if you think about the India plan, while we've kind of simplified this through these 3 bonuses, you can almost think of it as 2 phases. There's a phase where it's someone who's coming into the business where it's really simple to explain the plan to them because all you're doing is saying, go out there and sell products, and then find other people who sell products, and you get paid for it. And then until they do that behavior, you don't even have to talk about breakaways because that's the third bonus. You can if you choose to, depending on their intention. But the intention really is you have these kind of front-end bonuses that are really easy to explain. Because of the simplifications of the plan, you don't really need to spend a lot of time about it. And then when they get to the phase of the third bonus, which is our leadership bonus, the core of who we are, then you can get into the details of breakaways and whatnot. So what does that mean from the three bonuses perspective? So the very first bonus is, it's not going to be called L1 bonus, that's just to simplify for people to understand here. I mentioned we have different price bonus, it's just that price differential. It's the price between what you could buy the product at versus the person who's the customer who's buying the product at from you. So if you're selling to a retail customer, you're getting that difference. It could be up to 25% of the product price. If you're selling to a member account, it'll be a little less, but there'll still be a differential. Now, if you as an affiliate are selling to another affiliate, you're both buying at the same price, so there's going to be a differential there. But that's the simple part of that first plan, which is just, you go and sell products, and you're going to get a percentage off of that. That's simple. The second one, this is kind of where things start merging between the front end and the back end of the plan. Because if you're still an affiliate and you really don't understand brand reps and qualification and all of that, that's okay because you sell products, right? And then that's essentially creating your second level. So as an affiliate, this is where, again, you don't need to go and become a brand rep yet if you don't want to, but if you're an affiliate, you will still get 10% on your second level of sales. Now today in the US, we have this concept of DCSV, direct customer sales volume. We won't have that in India. Yeah. It's all volume counts for both of your levels. L1 and L2 are going to pay, L2 is going to pay on all volumes. Let's say you've got a brand rep on your second level and they're making a purchase, you're going to get 10% off of that as an affiliate. Yeah. So very simple to understand, right? Like what I was mentioning earlier, the first two bonuses are really meant to kind of bring in people, get them excited about the business, get them excited about the products, and once they understand the products and the efficacy, they're just going to push through to the bigger parts of the plan. And speaking about the bigger parts of the plan, this is kind of where it makes sense to incentivize your folks to go and become a brand rep. Because I just said, as an affiliate, you're going to get 10% on all of your second level of sales. The qualifier is still your first level, so you're personally sponsored, just like the referring bonus today in the US. But if you want to get more, which is really simple, go through qualification and become a brand rep. And then it's not 10% on your second levels, it's actually 15, 20, and 25%. There's three different tiers that you could get based on your L1 sales, just like the referring bonus today. But this is going to be restricted to brand reps. So again, the intention being to push people through the pipeline so that we can build that leadership team that we know drives a lot of our growth. So now that we have this bonus, that's kind of the bridge between the front and the back end, we now have our final bonus, the lead bonus, which we've tried to keep as close as we can to our global plan because this is really what drives our growth. This is what our duplication and scalability all comes down to. So there is going to be the normal 5% on G1 to G6, depending on your pay title. In addition, there will be a 5% on your G0, essentially 5% on your group. Today we have a building bonus in the US. You can think about this as similar to that. But we're lumping this into the leading bonus just to kind of, from an ease of telling the story perspective, is to say you get 5% on your group and then 5% on all your teams. So that's really what the three levels boil down to, is you tell people you can sell products and make money, you can find other people who sell products to make money, and then you can build your team of leaders, and then you get a benefit off of that. So that's what the India SPP is, and then a quick sneak peek into that. That's a lot of information that I just shared with you on the India SPP, the Global Growth Pool, the Founders Promotion. If I were to boil it down, I would say for this group, the onus or the action is very simple. It's find those India eligible people in your open markets today, make sure that they become brand reps before November, and then set goals to make sure that they get what's needed for the India Founders Promotion and the Global Growth Pool. Now, if that's still a lot of information to access, I'm going to leave this slide up here. This is a QR code that is going to take you to the slides that I just went through, to our launch product portfolio, to FAQs, to do's and don'ts and pre-marketing guidelines for the market. So make sure you bookmark this, because this is going to be a living link that we keep updating. So for example, a quick sneak peek is we just finished internally finalizing the India SPP rules this week. So it's going to go through legal review and management team review, and hopefully by the end of this month or early next month, we will have a publicly available version of the India Comp Plan, of global growth, of founders promotion. That's more detailed than just those slides that I shared with you. And we're going to share those. You got a question? Yes. That's a great question. I think there's a lot of learnings that we're going to have with India that we need to learn. We just need to learn our way into it. With India and the flexibility, or I guess the restrictions we have, it's giving us a little bit of flexibility to try things out. Ryan's approach is, hey, we can learn as we go, and then we can kind of tweak things. So I think we'll kind of take the learnings from India and then see how we can port them over to other markets.